for the introduction of the starting lineups.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Madison Square Garden, the world's most famous arena. Tonight's game features the New Jersey Nets and your New York Knicks. Here tonight's starting lineup. First for New Jersey. At guard, at 6'5" from Zagreb, Croatia, number 3, Drazen Petrovic. At guard, at 6'1" from Georgia Tech, number 7, Kenny Anderson. At forward, at 6'8" from Auburn, number 34, Chris Morris. At forward, at 6'10" from Syracuse, number 44, Derek Coleman. And at center, at 7'1" from Kentucky, number 31, Sam Boyd. The trainer is Tenor Sonico. The assistant coaches Brendan Soor, Paul Silas, and Rick Carlisle. And the head coach, Chuck Daly. And now, please welcome your New York Knicks. At guard, at 6'5" from Oklahoma State, number 3, John Stark. At guard, at 6'4" from Marquette, number 25, Doug Rivers. At forward, at 6'7" from Ohio State, number 9, Tony Campbell. At forward, at 6'9" from Virginia Union, number 34, Charles Oakley. And at center, at 7 feet from Georgetown, number 33, Patrick Ewing. The assistant trainer is Tim Walsh. The head trainer, Mike Saunders. Assistant coaches are Dick Carter and Tim Van Gundy. And the head coach for the Knicks, Pat Riley.
Well, looks to be close to a capacity crowd here at Madison Square Garden. As we get set for the Knicks and the Nets. You recall the Knicks coached by Pat Riley and the Pistons coached by Chuck Daly last season met in the opening round of the playoffs, with Chuck and Pat involved in what could be called light verbal warfare.
He's just doing a lot of whining. That's all he's doing. He's doing a lot of whining. They ought to step in and take a look at his team. That's what they ought to do.
Whatever he says is probably true. He wrote 2 books. I only wrote 1.
Chuck complaining about the aggressive style of the New York Knicks, which was kind of curious considering the Detroit style over the years. And now Chuck Daly, off that new offering entitled America's Dream Team, is tied with Pat Riley in terms of authoring books. They're 2 apiece, John.
And this rivalry, however, is brand new, and it begins right now.
Although Pat does have another book coming out, a motivational type book. Tonight's overhead camera shot brought to you by the Upper Deck Company. Nobody does basketball like Upper Deck. So during the course of the introduction of the lineups, Rolando Blackman in civilian clothes as Patrick Ewing is able to hit. Blackman sitting out because of a strained left calf muscle.
Patrick Ewing off to a good start, getting a nice patient return pass from John Starks.
Coleman, surprise buoy, and the Knicks will take over. Ewing, Oakley, and Campbell up front. Rivers and Starks in the backcourt. Here's Campbell with the step. Campbell on the rebound. Rejected by Bowie. Keep in mind the Nets, an excellent shot-blocking team. Anderson from deep. So Kenny Anderson right to it, and the game is tied at 2.
As we noted in our open, Kenny Anderson is shooting the ball much better than he ever has before.
Campbell tried the crossover and coughed it up. Petrovic for Anderson. And Petrovic gets to it. Anderson could save it. And the Knicks will get it back. The Knicks with the victory in Atlanta on Friday night, opening night. Saturday beat the 76ers. While the Nets come in at 1-1. Victory over the 76ers. And then Saturday night in Miami, they lost to the Miami Heat. So Ewing will go to the foul line. Sam Bowie called for the personal, and the Knicks free throw shooting on Saturday night was horrendous, 18 for 31.
Yes, 58% is below high school standards, Marv. The Knicks have to avenge that. And you know they want to get Patrick Ewing into the offense a little bit more tonight. Patrick was 6 out of 17 from the field on Saturday night, not his characteristic numbers. He has had good games before against the Nets. In fact, the last time they met, which was a Knicks loss here last March, second time the Nets beat the Knicks last season, 2 in a row, Patrick had a huge game, 35 points and 17 rebounds.
Last season, the Knicks did take 3 out of 5 against the Nets. Here's Coleman off the spin. Nice move by Derek Coleman. Nets with a 4-3 lead. Knicks won the first 3 games last season. Bowie stepping out for the steal. The Knicks won the first 3 against the Nets. The Nets won the last 2. Morris can't hit, and Oakley called for running into Anderson. And John, that last net victory here at Madison Square Garden ended a 13-game net losing streak here in New York.
Yes, it went back to March of 1987. And that was a long, long streak, but that really snapped it and gave the Nets a lot of confidence, and they're better this year.
Crowd very quiet here at the start. Bowie. John, the crowd trying to let the game come to them.
A wise crowd.
Here's Campbell. It's the Knicks 5, and the Nets 4.
Well, rebounding will loom very important, as it does in any basketball game, but I think both of these teams want to do the same thing. They want to run. Kenny Anderson will be much more effective if this team is running, so that puts tremendous emphasis on rebounding, because without good rebounding, they're not going to run. Now, Derek Coleman off to a nice start, going one-on-one with Charles Oakley. Doesn't need a lot of speed. He just has so many moves, and he's bigger than Charles height-wise, so he can shoot over him.
And 6, and the Knicks 5.
He's daring Charles to take the outside shot.
Ewing from Starks, and he drew the foul. Bowie called for the personal. Chris Dudley getting set to come on. Bowie called for his second. There's Dudley, noted for his defensive play and his shot blocking. So 2 shots for Ewing, who is 1 of 2 from the line.
Pat Riley has to be happy the way the Knicks are getting the ball into Ewing. He's creating problems right away for the Nets by going to the line, getting people in foul trouble. Although Chuck Daly's happy he has a Chris Dudley to come to. Dudley's done very well against the Knicks in recent times.
Knicks and Nets are tied at 6. Knicks by 1. Anderson and Petrovic at the guard. Dudley now up front with Coleman and Marks. They isolate Coleman against Oakley. A foul indicated.
Charles Oakley isolated, as you mentioned, Marv. Charles with the hand out. But the officials are, again, that left knee of Oakley is what the officials are looking at and they're honing in on. They don't want play beneath the foul line to be allowed using the knee to stop the offensive player. That was made very clear to all the NBA players.
Anthony Mason getting set to check in, prompting the reaction from the crowd. Anderson off the steal.
And Oakley gamble.
It's a 3-on-2, and Coleman able to find Morris. Chris Morris with the reverse. Knicks trailing 8-7. Ewing. Yes. Patrick Ewing has 7 of the Knicks' 9 points.
Dudley played Ewing as well as he can. He was right up on him without fouling him.
Knicks with a 10-9 lead. Foul called on Coleman. And now Anthony Mason, who had some strong statements concerning this rivalry, in particular the addition of Rick Mahorn has come on. So Mason replacing Oakley.
Mason getting a lot of time in the first 2 games and scoring and rebounding as he had in the preseason.
Here's Campbell. And Dudley with the rebound. Coleman trying to post up Mason. And it's tipped home by either Morris or Dudley.
It looked more like Patrick Ewing, but one of those will get credit for it. Ewing was right in the middle of it.
Chris Morris does receive the credit. 6 points for Morris. Nets lead by 3. And Mason drew the foul. Mason saw he was in difficulty, but able to go to the power move. And he was hit. Petrovic called for the personal.
Oh, Mason demanded the contact on this move. He really didn't have a shot at the basket. He just threw his body into Derek Coleman, who's taller at 6'10". Mason has this insatiable desire to score when he gets the ball down low, despite the fact people are taller than him. But with that body, he's able to create problems for the defense.
Anthony Mason asked about the Nets the other day. Said, I don't have any enemies over there, but we're just going to beat them up.
He loved the announcement, presumably, that Rick Mahorn, very physical Rick Mahorn, was back.
Yes, he said the Nets need more physical players, which is certainly true. But Anthony said, even without X-Man here, we still have a pretty good entourage on hand. Foul was called on Mason.
A very close foul once again.
And more statements from Anthony Mason. If you get the satisfaction of just being the best in the metro area, you're going in the wrong direction. All right. Player of the University of Minnesota, hearing it from the crowd, Dave Winfield of the Toronto Blue Jays, among many notables on hand here at the Garden tonight. The Nets with a 12-10 lead on the Knicks with 6:40 remaining in the first quarter.
The Nets offense has been going to Derek Coleman down low. It's the first time he gave it up to Chris Morris.
Mason showing the post-up move. Rebound Ewing. Handled by Dudley. Anderson played by Rivers. Both clubs remaining the same following the timeout. Petrovic on the crossover. Played very well by Starks, but still able to hit. Remember the trash talk between these two during the course of the season series last year, but Starks amused by it because here's Starks on a quick release saying that he couldn't understand what Petrovic was saying. I mentioned to John before the game, nice pass from Anderson, but it surprised Morris. Morris able to recover. Nice play. And the Nets now lead 16-10. I mentioned to John Starks if somehow he could find out how to say something like, you stink in Croatian, to kind of surprise Petrovic. Rivers with a high arcing shot. I say that, of course, with affection.
Of course, Marv, as you would.
Yes.
Did Starks appreciate your attempt at humor?
He was uncontrollable in his giggling. Coleman not able to hit. Dudley with the one-hand rebound. Yes, and it counts. Chris Dudley able to put it home. And the bad news is that Chris is going to the foul line.
The bad news for the Knicks is he got that rebound without leaving the floor. I mean, the guy was just standing there. Ball came right into his hands. Poor commentary on the Knicks keeping him out. See Dudley pushing out, boxing out. He boxed out the defensive man. It should be reversed. The defense should be boxing out the offense. Meanwhile, this guy had 13 offensive rebounds against the Knicks.
Whoa.
March 1st.
Oh, John, you were looking at your notes.
I got it.
Did you see that?
Net ball, right?
Right. And he,
bottom of the net.
because I know you appreciate his free throw shooting. but he hesitated and he faked himself out.
That hesitation has always been part of his form, Mark.
Down to the low line drive style. He is shooting 44% for his career at the line. Morris on the steal. Petrovic putting the move on Starks. Here's Coleman. Charles Smith, who just checked in, was trying to draw the foul. And now the offensive foul on Mason. So that is his second personal.
Unnecessary foul by Anthony Mason. Take another look at Dudley after that very embarrassing moment. Oh, why didn't I spend more time this summer on the foul line? That's embarrassing.
But your peripheral did catch it, John. You fooled me. I'm sorry, because I know you like to see these things.
I wanted to point out how he killed the Knicks on the offensive boards last year, and he did it already in this game.
Nets with an 18-12 lead, 4:35 remaining in the first. Anderson on a quick release, so Kenny Anderson with his second field goal. Nets with a 20-12 advantage. Ewing throwing the double team. And here's Petrovic off the steal, finding Anderson. Rebound Morris, and he's fouled. The Nets very lively going to the board.
Yes, the Knicks had got to better think about keeping people away from the boards. They're getting hurt on the Nets offensive boards. And they're looking quicker to the basketball than the Knicks are.
So Chris Morris to the line. Anthony Mason has just collected his third, and Tony Campbell will replace him. So Mason sits down. Rick took that. Thought we'd see Rick Vaughn. It was Tate George enjoying the foul.
We are seeing Chris Morrison new hairdo now. He's decided to get rid of that head of hair and be like a lot of the other guys in the NBA.
And here's Anderson. Nets up by the score, 21-12. Morris for Petrovic. Starks. And tipped home by Ewing.
Such a terrific effort by Ewing. When you see a guard break away like that, you've got to assume he's either going to draw the foul, make the shot. Ewing didn't assume anything. He kept going and kept that thing alive.
A holding foul on Rivers, who was looking for the jump ball, but Hugh Holland said no. And Greg Anthony checking in, coming off the good performance Saturday night against the 76ers. Doc Rivers sitting down with a field goal for two. Kenny Anderson to the free throw line. Last year, Kenny Anderson, the world's highest paid spectator. He averaged about 17 minutes per game. The center of controversy from the day that he was drafted. There is Rick Mahorn, making his first appearance as a New Jersey Net in 11 years in the NBA. One of the prime enforcers as a member of the Detroit Pistons, Philadelphia 76ers.
His contributions will be valuable on the court and off the court, perhaps more off the court, in adding a veteran leadership to this team.
I don't think there's any question the prime reason, as Ewing is able to hit again, he has 11. The big reason the Nets made the deal for Mahorn was to change the attitude of people like Derek Coleman and Chris Morris, primarily Coleman. Coleman putting the move on. Oh, what a move. There's no question about this guy's talent. Superior range for a power forward. Puts the ball on the floor so well. Pushing foul. Called on the net. We'll be back after this.
Garden, how is this for a row of strange bedfellows? President of the Knicks, Dave Checketts, then Mike Lupica, Mike's date, and my date here getting set for his show. Now, Don, I would have to think 10 guys all sweaty, tugging and pulling on each other. 48 minutes is your cup of tea.
Yeah, it is. I'm very attracted to athletes, and particularly these guys, you know. So it's a big night for me.
Why is that?
Well, it's just, you know, I get out, and I don't have my keeper with me, and Lupic and I will be out. We'll be over to Paradise Club later, a little lap dancing, and
You on him and him on you? Or?
no, well, you never know.
I know when you're home, you do watch a lot of sports. Any opinions about Marv and John Andres that you'd like to share with us before we throw it back to them?
I love Mark. My guy.
What about John?
I don't think I'm not very familiar with him. Is he the old guy with the gray hair?
Well, yeah, sort of.
Yeah, he's terrific.
What do you think of the game so far?
Well, we're behind, aren't we?
We?
Well, the Knicks.
We?
Well,
When was the last time you sank a free throw?
every decade I come to a game.
Where have you been, by the way?
I was away for a while, and then now I can come out at night again. So
Has there been any harassment of Mike Breen to date?
no, actually, I'm very happy for him. He's a great kid. So we were going to give him a bad time. We decided not to. So.
Would you do me a favor and throw it back to Marv for me, because we're finished.
And now back to John and Marv.
Thanks, John. Marv and Don.
Thanks, Don. What an honor to get the throw from the I-Man. But, John, I'd be very upset. I would not accept that particular judgment that he made.
Well, you can tell the I-Man was a little nervous fooling around with television. I mean, he's so strong on radio. And Al had him backing up a little bit, so he was out of sorts. You got to come more often, Marv.
John, I would not accept that.
All right, I'll deal with it after the game.
In a physical manner, I'm getting that feeling, John.
What's that?
Yes. Coming up on 2 minutes remaining, first quarter, and it's the Nets 24 and the Knicks 18.
My man gets very quiet though in public.
Very low key.
Yes.
Nice fellow. The Nets 26 and the Knicks 18. Here Starks. He's been off. Anthony with the steal. Ewing. And it's rebounded by Coleman. Knicks shooting 6 of 16.
Marv, it's clear that the Nets have established their presence in this game positively, and the Knicks have not done the same.
Coleman with a terrific move. Eric Coleman has 8. It's the Nets 28 and the Knicks 18.
The Knicks, first of all, are screaming out for some outside shooting. They've gotten used to going to Ewing. He's giving them points, but they need more balance in their offense.
Ewing putting the move on Dudley. And here comes Petrovic. Petrovic. And Ewing with the rebound. Tony Campbell. He's been off, but Smith with the tip.
Marv, as we were chatting before the game about this matchup tonight, I think that this really is Charles Smith's coming out party. This is the kind of game, as the quality gets better now in the matchups between the Knicks and their opponents, this is the kind of game that he's got to show what he can bring to this team.
Smith got a piece of that. It's a 5-on-1, and Smith converts. It's the Nets 28, the Knicks 22, and the Nets will hold for a final shot.
With Oakley in foul trouble early, the Knicks need someone big who can score and come in and be a force and be superior, actually, to Oakley scoring-wise, and that answer is Smith. This is a big game for him, I feel.
And the foul is called on Anthony. Outside official Gary Benson with the whistle. And here comes Hubert Davis for the Knicks, and Rick Mahorn making his net debut. Well, Rick Mahorn began his NBA career with the Bullets on to Detroit, taken in the expansion draft by the Minnesota Timberwolves, and then he was dealt to the Philadelphia 76ers after he refused to report to Minnesota. Now Petrovic sits down, and Tate George has come on for the first time. 7 seconds left in this first quarter. Knicks down by 8. Down to 2. So 4 shooting. First quarter for the Knicks. 8 of 22, and they trail by 8.
Not a solid first quarter for the Knicks. The Nets have to be pretty happy under their new coach, Chuck Daly. Take a look now at a key matchup brought to you by Toyota. Patrick Ewing, however, has carried the Knicks offensively with 13 points, 3 rebounds. His opponent, Sam Bowie, has not gotten into it yet. Only 3 minutes of play. He was spelled early with foul trouble. And Chris Dudley is out there replacing him, doing his typical strong job on the boards.
Second quarter is underway. Nets 30, and the Knicks 22. Ewing knocking it away. And it's a 24-second violation. And Greg Anthony, who has been hard hit by injuries all through preseason, is shaken up.
Well, he has had tremendous difficulties with the right knee and the right ankle, Marv. It appears to be the knee now, the right knee, that's bothering him. And he has carried his pain problems so well, so admirably. Taking another look at the action here now, he just fell down by himself. In some ways it reminds me of the Lawrence Taylor incident this weekend. He seemed to go down by himself as well. Of course, not the same injury, but Greg is really hurt, so much so that he has to leave the game now, although he's leaving with Mike Saunders' assistance.
Yes, Greg bothered for the most part by a sprained right ankle, sore left hand. Here's another look at it.
Take a look at it now. It looks like in the replay that he stepped on Tony Campbell's sneaker.
The Knicks took a 20-second timeout, and Pat Riley has inserted Doc Rivers for Greg Anthony. The Nets now line up with Rick Mahorn, Chris Dudley, and Chris Morris up front, and a backcourt of Tate George. And another new addition to the squad, Ramil Robinson, who was acquired from Atlanta in the trade involving Mookie Blaylock.
Greg Anthony is tightening his sneaker, and I cannot believe it. He has walked out on the court again. That's amazing. He looked like he was hurt and through for the night, the way he reacted, and he tightened the sneaker, and it was his ankle as opposed to his knee, Marv. I thought it was his knee, but it was the ankle. He tightened the sneaker, and here he is again.
And he's still trying to walk it off. Still looks like he's hobbling. So he's back in, I'm sure, to the delight of Doc Rivers, who heads back to the bench. The Nets 30, and the Knicks 22. George guarded by the rookie Davis, and Hubert Davis with the steal.
Amazing how Greg Anthony shakes off the limp once the action starts.
Mahorn guarding Smith. Smith going baseline. And it's Ewing. He has 15 points.
Charles Smith has played a very important role from the moment he stepped on the floor. He helped get that ball loose for Ewing.
That's 30, Knicks 24. Robinson guarded now by Anthony. Morris looking to post up on Campbell. Shot clock at 3. Not a good shot by Chris Morris. Campbell ahead of the field. So the Knicks now trail by 4.
Hubert Davis, upon getting that ball, did what the most seasoned basketball players should do. Looked ahead. Who's in front of me? And he found him. He found Campbell.
Traveling violation called on George. Minute and a half gone by. Second quarter. Marv Albert with John Andres, Al Troutwood, Walt Clyde Frazier will be joining us at halftime. A packed house at Madison Square Garden for the Knicks and the Nets meeting for the first time this season. First of 4 regular season meetings. And the foul is on Mahorn. Rick Mahorn played in Italy last year, and this season he was suspended from the team. Had a little incident with the coach in the Italian league.
Yes, got rid of a chair at one point. Knicks working hard on the boards. Anthony getting through for that shot.
Loose ball foul. It's on Smith.
Ball seemed to be in Dudley's hand, and Smith kept competing. But I asked Mahorn before the game exactly why he left Italy. I said, I heard you threw chairs against the wall. You broke up a locker room. He said, nothing of the kind. He said, I did throw a chair against the wall, but I was unhappy about something or other. But the big reason is Tate George pushes Greg Anthony and commits a foul with the ball for no apparent reason, but he must have been angered by something Anthony did. Take another look at it now. George not happy with the pressure he's getting from Greg. That's a no-win situation. He said the reason I left was when the time came for me to be paid first of the month, I didn't get my check. And he said they broke their contract by doing that. It sounds kind of a hasty judgment, I'd say, on a late paycheck.
Here's Davis with a quick release. Hubert Davis came on and played so well against the 76ers Saturday. Anthony with the steal and the nice pass for Smith. Kyle Smith was fouled. Dudley called for the foul. Good play again by Anthony. And the Knicks hearing it from the crowd.
Taking another look at that play, Anthony on the steal. Taking a look now from the upper deck trading card cam. Another look at that play, which turns things the Knicks' way after the action was going to the Nets basket.
Smith to the free throw line. We talked about one of the reasons that Mahorn was acquired by the Nets, certainly to get more out of people like Derek Coleman and Chris Morris, who have shown immature ways in the past. And this is a club that still seems to have problems. Bill Fitch went through all kinds of situations last year, but then Saturday night in Miami, Drazen Petrovic reportedly shouted at Kenny Anderson during a timeout in the third quarter. Wanted the ball more frequently and hit two straight from the floor, and that exchange was on the brief side. And then Derek Coleman had some angry words with Petrovic. Petrovic yelled back at Coleman. They all deny the incident, but the feeling is that Mahorn can settle this ball club down. Davis is called for the foul.
Marv, it has been a long time since the Nets scored a point. It was 30-22 in favor of the Nets several minutes ago, and they have stopped scoring.
It's a 6-0 run by the Knicks. And they pulled within two. Robinson. Emil Robinson off the fake. And he's fouled.
Chuck Daly is doing something interesting, working Robinson into the action here in the first half. Robinson essentially diagnosed by NBA experts as a shooting guard. He failed in Atlanta because he wasn't a point guard. He doesn't distribute the ball, as you see him penetrating, giving the ball up, actually. And he's out there with another shooter, Petrovic. And Daly is just taking a look at him. Can he handle the ball? Does he have some point guard abilities? And he's experimenting right now because things have not gone well for the Nets since Kenny Anderson left the game. But Daly's willing to try things here in the first half.
The Nets have gone 3 minutes 4 seconds without scoring a point before the foul shots were converted by Emil Robinson. Nets 32, the Knicks 28. Early second quarter. Strong move by Smith, and again he drew the foul.
Very fine ball movement by the Knicks. Smith did an excellent job setting himself up as a target. Not all big men do that well, but he did. He made that ball come to him.
Morris called for the foul. Morris will sit down.
Marv, you sense the presence Smith has had since he came in the game. You know, rebounding, active on the boards, pursuing loose basketballs out there, and making himself important offensively. He's playing with a lot of spirit.
Now, Raphael Addison has come on for the first time with Morris departing. Addison, 3-year man from Syracuse. Addison up front now with Coleman and Mahorn. It's the Nets 32, the Knicks 30. 8:45 to go in this first half. And of defense, Coleman stopped by Smith. was called for a travel. The Knicks felt he was pushed.
Excellent effort by Charles Smith. So hard to guard this guy under any conditions. They're both 6'10", and Smith timed that jump defensively perfectly.
So the traveling violation gives the ball back to the net. Petrovic way off, and Smith, who claims he did not make contact, is called for coming over the back of Coleman.
The foul was made by the call was made by the official outside. He couldn't see the difference between the bodies of Smith and Coleman.
Smith has picked up his third. Charles Smith getting in foul trouble in the opener in Atlanta on Friday night. Coleman drawing the double team, finds Addison open. Rebound is batted away from the horn. Coleman on the recovery.
Very simply, Oakley was beaten to position for that basketball by Mahorn. He made his presence felt.
Nets have a 4-point lead. 4 minutes gone by. Second quarter. Oakley, yes. Charles has the outside touch working. We saw it in Atlanta on Friday, also a bit on Saturday night against the Sixers.
Marv, that move was made inside the foul line, where normally he's not strong when he gets the ball. That's a move that reflects a lot of work this summer.
Anthony tried to draw the foul. Here's Coleman for three. So Derek Coleman connects from three-point range, and the Nets lead 37-32. Foul charged to Robinson. Coleman leading the Nets with 13. Here's Patrick Ewing checking back in. He's the high point man with 15. See the rest of the Knicks, 6 of 20 from the field. Campbell 2 out of 6. Starks 0 for 3. Smith 2 out of 5. Nice interior pass. Oakley with the tip. And the assist for Ewing.
Charles right on target again, getting those rebounding stats, missing his own shots, and yet being able to recover it and make something out of it.
Johnny, you indicating he's padding his rebound statistics.
A very important part of his success on the boards, Marv. We've seen it through the years.
Nets lead it by 3. Coleman went down. He thought he was tripped. Anthony with the steal. Has it knocked away. Good play by Ramil Robinson. Robinson. Rebounded by Oakley. And Anthony couldn't handle it. The Knicks take a timeout with 6:32 remaining in this first half. The Nets with a 3-point lead. Paul Simon is to the right of Keith. There's Lon Michaels, the executive producer of Saturday Night Live. And a very serious-looking Greg Gumbel, John.
Bryant's younger brother.
Yes. I'm sure he'll be delighted that you pointed that out. And Mike Francesa on play-by-play. Will have an interesting group of guests following Knicks basketball from the play-by-play club at the Garden. And Campbell is bottled up by Addison.
Tony Campbell was hanging, and he got the basketball. Fortunately, the Knicks were able to get the ball with 4 Knicks against 5 Nets. He was around half court waiting for that ball. Marv, the Knicks are not boxing out well enough. The Nets are doing a tremendous job following up their missed shots, creating all kinds of problems for the Knicks.
Nets now lead it 37-35. So the Knicks free throw shooting has improved tonight. 12 out of 14. The steal by Anthony. He took it from Kenny Anderson. The Knicks lead 38-37.
See, Mark, since this game started and Anthony's presence was felt, since he came out on the floor, he's been trying very hard to play his man almost full court defensively.
And a good play by Campbell to tie up Coleman. The Nets Knicks at one point led by as many as 10. A very listless start for the Knicks, who did not shoot well except for Patrick Ewing. And the Knicks have come out here in the second quarter, and they lead by 1. Campbell and Coleman on the jump ball. Campbell claiming that Coleman is leaning in, looking to get the edge. Derek not accepting it real well, John. It's a bad toss. Nets control. Anderson, way off.
Patrick Ewing was right in front of him, and he wanted to shoot over him.
Oakley. And Charles really matching the touch of Anderson.
No, it's surprising, Marv. The Knicks and the Nets are not feeling the presence of Charles Oakley as usual on the boards. I think Charles trying to shoot his way into the game, which for him is the wrong way to go.
And that is a traveling violation. Coleman called for steps. Well, that's always the downside regarding Charles Oakley. You'd like to see him hit the outside shot, as he has. But sometimes when he gets too effective, he'll stay out there.
Well, he's not even established on the boards yet. That's the problem.
Ewing. Oakley try to save it. It will be Nets ball.
Pat Riley made a point the other night after the Philadelphia game about Greg Anthony, who played a fine game. He said he could be one of the best defensive guards in the league if he picked the ball up full court and harassed without fouling. He's got great quickness. And that's what Greg has been doing tonight, stressing, picking up his man high before they even get to half court.
Just under 5 minutes remaining first half. Dudley feeling around for Oakley, and then throws an air ball. The Knicks in possession. They have a 1-point lead. Davis played by Petrovic. Here's Ewing. Yes. Oh, what a beautiful shot. The skip move by Patrick Ewing.
I have never seen Patrick Ewing execute that shot. That was almost reminiscent of the Wilt Chamberlain move when he stick that arm in and lean in.
The Knicks 40, the Nets 37. Shot clock down to 5. Petrovic played well by Davis, got a piece of it. Dudley able to recover. Anderson on the penetration, had it stripped. And Oakley comes up with it. Good defensive sequence by the Knicks. They now have a 3-on-2. Here's Davis. And back come the Nets.
Went too long between shots for Hubert.
Coleman had it knocked away by Ewing. Oakley rejected by Dudley, and he goes right back.
But in the rejection, Dudley literally bounced off Oakley and took himself out of the play.
It's a 10-0 run by the Knicks, who hear it from the crowd. Chuck Daly calling for time.
Teams meet, the action will always be in the paint, and we look at our Dutch boy in the paint numbers. First quarter, the Nets and Knicks equal. The Knicks have taken over in the paint, however, in the second quarter in most dramatic fashion.
And the Nets have turned it over in the second quarter 9 times. The Knicks with only 3. 9 turnovers over the first 9 minutes of the second quarter. Anderson, that was a 3-point attack. The Knicks 42, Nets 37, biggest lead of the night for the Knicks, who at one point were down by 10 points. A 10-0 run by the Knicks. Make it 12-0 as John Starks hits his first field goal.
That's the quality the Knicks have been missing on offense, perimeter shooting.
The Knicks lead 44-37. Dudley called for the charge. That is his 3rd foul.
As tough as Dudley is on the boards, he has shown no improvement offensively. A very awkward move by him. What a poor judgment, putting the ball on the floor, trying to beat Ewing, dribbling the basketball.
Rick Mahorn replacing Chris Dudley. Anthony and Starks in the backcourt. Ewing, Oakley, Campbell up front. Ewing going at Mahorn. Mahorn able to knock it away. Anderson with a change of pace. Oakley on the rebound.
Oh, Charles short that ball.
Here's Campbell. Tony Campbell going from half court with a strong move. And the Knicks now lead 46-37. The Nets have not scored in over 5 minutes. And again, Chuck Daly calls for time. It's a 20-second timeout.
Bob, at one point, the score was Nets 30, Knicks 22. So the Knicks have gone on a 22-7 tear since that time.
That includes a 14-0 run. Well, to be precise, the Nets have not scored in the last 5 minutes, 25 seconds.
Taking a look at the last sequence, Charles Oakley really went after that basketball. And the sight of Derek Coleman did not deter Tony Campbell. He just kept rolling very comfortably to that left hand and finished the play. And Chuck Daly and Brendan Suhr are now seeing the Nets that remind people here who have seen the Nets in recent years of those times. The Nets have gone soft after a very strong start.
2 minutes remaining in the first half. Petrovic played well by Starks. Petrovic has not been a factor in this first half. Anderson turning up the crowd off that dribble move. Now Petrovic. And Oakley able to get to it.
Seems that Chris Morris hasn't touched the ball in a long time.
Starks and Morris with the rebound. The Nets have not scored in over 6 minutes. Coleman, not a good shot. Mahorn. So Rick Mahorn with his first field goal wearing the uniform of the New Jersey Nets. Here's Campbell. The Knicks 14-0 run coming to a close. 6 minutes and 13 seconds without a point before that field goal by Mahorn. So the Nets go more than halfway through the quarter without scoring. Morris. And Mahorn gets to it. 40 seconds remaining first half. Anderson picked up on the switch. Coleman is wide open. Coleman on the follow.
He has such a nose for that basketball. He excluded Oakley and Ewing on that follow-up.
Coleman on the rebound of the Anthony miss. And the Knicks get it back with 16 seconds left in the half, and they will hold for a final shot.
The Nets' first game against on Friday night, rather, when they played Philly, 24 turnovers, 21 turnovers the next night in Miami. A major problem for them early.
And they've certainly turned it over here in the second quarter. Down to 5 seconds. And last touch by Starks. Petrovic got a piece of it. And it deflected off Starks, so the Nets get it back. 4 4/10 seconds remaining. Mahorn's pass intercepted by Oakley. Ewing from center court. The Knicks outscoring the Nets 24-11 in the second quarter. At one point, 14 unanswered. And the Knicks lead the Nets at halftime, 46-41. We'll be back.
Ordinary in the first half, and we'll talk about the fact that the Nets didn't score for better than 6 minutes. But first, Bob Page at the sports desk.
Thank you, Al. Good evening, everybody. The Knicks and Nets not the only Atlantic Division game going on tonight at Miami. Boston taking on the Heat with both of those teams out of the chute at 1-1 so far, and the Celtics lead by 6 very late second quarter. A big game to this point for that man. Knicks fans recognize Xavier McDaniel, who has 12 points. Stealing the ball from Glenn Rice there, taking it coast to coast, and throwing it down. Kevin Lockery and the Heat trailed 27-20. Miami has gotten a big game from former Syracuse star Ronnie Cycli. Working right there, turning around on Joe Klein. Jump hook. He has 15 points in the ball game to this moment. At Cleveland tonight, another ex-Knick. Gerald Wilkins in the starting lineup versus the Bullets in place of Craig Elo. They want to bring him off the bench now. Second quarter, Terrell Brandon to Gerald, who drives past Long Islander Tuliata, forced the shot and got the call. Free throw gave Cleveland a 10-point lead. Later in the second, Brandon to Hot Rod Williams, who lays it in. Wilkins has 7 points so far, and Cleveland is leading the Washington Bullets. Lawrence Taylor underwent successful surgery today to repair that ruptured Achilles tendon. In the only interview LT has given since receiving the injury on Sunday, he told his former Giants teammate Beasley Reese about his current feelings.
I've thought about everything. I'm in the process of thinking about what's going on and what could happen or what will happen or what did happen. But I'm more concerned or focused on recovering right now, just getting myself the best chance to recover from this. As far as what my decision will be now or in the future, I have not made one. I haven't even, I'm not in the process of making one right now.
In college football, Washington today declared junior quarterback Billy Joe Holbert ineligible for the rest of his career for accepting a $50,000 loan. Now
Sports Desk is brought to you by Alamo. There are over 4 million miles of roads in Alamo territory, and with Alamo, all those miles are free.
It's almost as if someone once said, just in case people like sunshine and water, we'd better make Florida. And we'd better make miles of beautiful beaches.
After one quarter is turned into a 5-point Knick lead by the half. The leading scorer summary is brought to you by your Tri-State Jeep and Eagle dealers. There's only one Jeep, and it's only at your Tri-State Jeep and Eagle dealers. Patrick Ewing, a force in the middle for the Knicks, 6 of 12, 7 rebounds, 17 points. After that, Smith, Campbell, and Oakley, single digits the rest of the way. As for New Jersey, a very similar story, and the center of their offense is Derek Coleman, 7 of 13, 15 points, 6 rebounds, very similar to Ewing's numbers. Then Morris, Anderson, and Petrovich with single digits abounding there as well. Joining me here is Walt Frazier, of course, at halftime. Clyde, I think once again the Knicks said, okay, let's go back, tighten up the defense, let's hit the boards, and that, I believe, is what got them back into this game again. Riley has this team believing so much in that.
Yeah, and Greg Anthony was the catalyst, folks. He was looting, and his looting ignited the Knicks in transition. Early on in the first quarter, the Nets were hurting the Knicks in transition, so Anthony put a stop to that.
As always, a look at the highlights, and they are, as always, brought to you by Minolta, creators of the world's most responsive SLR cameras, the new Maxim XI series. The centers of attention, Ewing against Coleman.
Yeah, as you mentioned, it was a Ewing doing. Coleman doesn't have the hustle or the muscle to deny Ewing on the low post, so Patrick swoops and hoops with the finger roll.
Clyde, I think the latest love affair on the Knicks is Pat Riley with Greg Anthony in his eyes as opposed to Doc Rivers.
Yeah, he plays with tenacity. Watch the good hands there. He deflects the ball, so the Knicks are in transition. And this is what hurt the Nets in the second quarter. The Knicks dishing and swishing. Charles Smith also asserted himself on the glass as well.
And every time up the floor you see Derek Coleman with the ball, you are reminded of what enormous talents this guy has.
Yeah, he could be the consummate player. He's 6'10", folks. Look at him spinning and winning on Charles Oakley. He's also second on the team in dishing.
9 relatively quiet points from Chris Morris. However, this reverse was anything but quiet.
Yeah, Morris, one of those erratic or dramatic players here with an emphatic stuff over the Knicks.
Clyde, just to go back to one of the thoughts that I brought up, what about the obvious feeling that seems to be in Pat Riley's mind and sticking with Greg Anthony? He's done it tonight through most of the first half. The other night here in the home opener did the same thing. Do you think that's going to be the trend through this season?
I think so, because Doc Rivers hasn't been onto his game. In the previous game, Anthony was the catalyst as well, propelling the Knicks, and he's continued his outstanding play again tonight.
This really could be a great rivalry, don't you think?
Yeah, no question about it.
All right, we're halfway through the opening game of what will be 4 meetings this season. The Knicks will try to protect their 5-point lead when we come back. All right, second half moments away. Knicks and the New Jersey Nets 46-41. Earlier in our Knicks game night coverage, and Marvin John also alluding to the dispute this weekend between Kenny Anderson and Drazen Petrovic, who complained that Anderson didn't get him the ball, and then Derek Coleman getting involved. Before tonight's game, I spoke to Kenny Anderson and asked him what he remembered of it.
Personally, I didn't hear, what, they say the draws saying I didn't look for him. I didn't hear it. He didn't come and say to me. Some other players heard it. The coach must have heard it. I didn't hear it. Yeah. And then the next morning, I saw it in the paper. So I'm like, I would appreciate if, if any, bickering, they should, come to me and we can just discuss it.
So Drazen hasn't said anything to you?
Nah, I haven't really, after the game, I didn't hear nothing.
Why does there always seem to be so much tension in your locker room?
I really don't know, maybe, we got a lot of learning to do. I really don't know, but all I know is I have to run the team. And I have 2 eyes, 2 hands, and I can't. It's 1 ball and 5 players out there that I have to concentrate on, and everybody can't get the ball at once. So all I got to do is run the team and just, keep focused. That's what I'm trying to do this year. It might be a big thing around here, but I'm going to keep focused.
Well, the Nets are trying to grow up, but for now it seems as though it's the same old story in East Rutherford. Let's get to Marv Albert and John Andres for the start of the second half in front of a star-studded crowd at the Garden.
All right, Al, and the Knicks with a 46-41 lead. They had that 14-0 stretch in the second quarter to break it open. Nets at one point led by as many as 10. Nets went almost 6.5 minutes without scoring during the course of a stretch in the second quarter. Ewing picking up Coleman on a switch. Now Bowie played by Oakley. And off the rebound battle. Loose ball foul called on Rivers. Well, in that second quarter, the Nets shot 4 of 21 from the field. The Knicks 9 for 23. Did not exactly burn it up. And off the fast break, the Knicks outscoring the Nets 14-3.
Funny number, particularly in view of the fact the Nets had more rebounds than the Knicks in the first half. Only 2 more, but the Knicks were able to get more fast break opportunities. Undoubtedly, the offensive rebounding of the Nets is the reason for that. They had 13 of their 29 rebounds were offensive rebounds.
And apparently the foul on Rivers was called in the act.
One of the shockingly low numbers in the first half was the assist totals for both teams. The Nets with a total of 6 assists in the half, the Knicks with 8. That indicates a lot of one-on-one play.
Here's Ewing. Nice move by Ewing. He has 19, and the Knicks lead 48-43. A minute gone by in the third quarter. Anderson and Petrovic in the backcourt. Morris up front with Bowie and Coleman. Here's Bowie. Well, it did not look pretty, but for Bowie, it is his first field goal. The Knicks 48, the Nets 45, and a reach-in is called on Anderson.
Doc Rivers has to get his touch and feel for this game back. He only played 9 minutes of the first half. Greg Anthony went the rest of the way.
Here's Rivers. Oh, what a shot. Well, he got the touchback, John.
It certainly did. The backboard helped, too.
Forced by Morris. Coleman able to wrestle it free.
Very nice move by Charles Oakley. Instead of rushing the play, just patiently turned around and handed it to Rivers when he collected himself.
And the ball lost by Rivers.
Oh, another look at this beautiful drive by Doc Rivers. He's so determined. A lot of obstacles along the way, but he overcame them.
The Knicks 50, and the Nets 45, just getting underway in the third quarter. And the block is called on Oakley for Charles, his third. 3 apiece on Oakley, Rivers, Mason, and Smith.
Well, no way Oakley will buy that, but the official looks at the defensive man's movement toward the offensive man. So he saw some movement on the part of Charles Oakley into the offense, despite the fact Charles had good position. Take an overhead look at this replay now. Oakley leaning in. You can see him clearly lean in. That's a reflex action. Normally Charles remains stationary. He's so good at normally drawing the offensive foul.
And Derek Coleman on the line for the first time. He now has 16 points. Derek coming off a 19-point, 9 rebound, 7 assist game Saturday night in the loss to Miami.
Derek played 21 minutes of the first half along with Petrovic to lead the team. I don't think the Nets are fully pleased with Derek Coleman's shape. Feeling is he's not quite in the shape that he should be in, so Chuck Daly's playing him a lot of minutes.
Here is Starks. John Starks, after the slow start, showing some signs. Knicks lead now 52-47. Morris backing Campbell. And illegal defense called for the first time. The Nets get a new 24.
Chris Morris, another very difficult forward to guard because he can play so well with the ball, without the ball, dribbles well, as he just showed Tony Campbell those skills. Morris opened up the season with a 28-point game against Philadelphia.
However, Chris Morris in foul trouble the first 2 games of the season, and a traveling violation on Coleman. He gave the triple pump, but he also called for steps.
I'll tell you, that offense becomes stationary when Coleman gets the ball. Everybody just waits to see what he's going to do. That's a tough way to live on offense.
Here's Campbell off the pick. Oakley getting inside. What a box out by Charles Oakley.
What a classic example of no matter how big you are, if you have the position, you will win. And Oakley had the position on the taller Derek Coleman.
8.7 rebounds for Oakley. Petrovic, it counts, and the foul.
Just a fine move by Petrovic. He's a big guy for a guard. He's 6'5". You can see the height of him now. He's right there. He's over Starks. And so tough. He has such a nose for the ball and the basket. Charles Oakley with the great position at the other end. He had Coleman behind him, and Coleman lost the battle.
Drazen Petrovic, the Olympic point guard for Croatia, one of the best standstill shooters in the NBA. Last year's first full season with the Nets, he averaged 20 points per game, second in three-point shooting. Starks, yes.
I mean, that's a crazy shot. That's a bad shot in terms of what is a good shot, what is a bad shot. But Starks has the feel, the touch around the basket, and he can make those very fine moves off balance.
Knicks now lead 56-49. Coleman. Well, the Knicks got to the matchup of Ewing against Coleman. And the last 2 times down, Coleman called for steps and then throws the air ball. And a foul is called on the Nets. It's on Petrovic. Did you say Drazen looks puzzled by the call?
Nets have had the spirit taken out of them after that second quarter when they were held to 11 points by the Knicks after a 30-point opening quarter.
The Nets will play their home opener Thursday night against the Minnesota Timberwolves. That's the start of a 4-game homestand. Rivers. Knicks move on to face the Bullets Friday night in Washington. Back home for the Boston Celtics here on Saturday. Petrovic with a strong left-hand move and then called for traveling.
Marv, the tone of the offense for the Nets seems to me to be set early by their leading player, Derek Coleman. And that is a tone of one-on-one basketball. When that happens, people like Petrovic, who's a dynamite scorer, feel they have to respond the same way. It's like the only way I'm going to get the ball is if when I get it is to keep it.
And a technical foul, and Daly's been thrown out. Consecutive technicals on Chuck Daly, handed out by the official, Gary Benson. Daly apparently had something to say. He's been getting on Benson pretty good, and then he persisted, and he has been ejected. Doc Rivers shooting the tees, missed the first. So the combination of Brendan Surr and one-time Knick assistant Paul Silas will be directing the club.
This doesn't look right to see Paul Silas at that end of the Garden floor, Marv.
And a timeout taken by the Nets. Knicks lead 57-49.
Why did Hertz invent #1 club goal service? To beat the rush hour. See, every plane and everybody seems to land at once. But with goal service, there's no stopping at the counters and no paperwork. Instead, you go nonstop to your waiting car with your name in lights. Only Hertz has #1 club goal. The best reason yet why Hertz beats the rush hour. To Hertz, the rest of the day is a piece of cake.
Where can you find unbiased information about investments?
My son's only in 2nd grade.
Someone who will put your needs first.
But the cost of college scares us.
And help you decide how much risk to take.
So in your situation,
or not take.
I can help.
Someone with extensive research on over 600 mutual funds.
I'd recommend these.
Go to Citibank, where professional investment consultants will help you choose what's right for you.
I'm feeling good about this.
Because Wall Street is moving to Citibank.
If your business relies on 800 service, you may think of your phone line as your lifeline. So choosing AT&T 800 service is important. With another carrier, you could lose more 800 calls day in and day out, and they're twice as likely to have an outage. But relax. With AT&T, the most reliable 800 service, you can get more 800 sales and a healthier bottom line.
Well, Chuck Daly has been ejected. So the Nets are being run by the combination of Brendan Surr and Paul Silas on the Payne-Weber leaderboard. And Chuck Daly, the number 6 in terms of career winning percentage. Pat Riley is number 1. There is Chuck having something to say to the outside official Gary Benson. And now gets a bit more excited about it and gets the thumb. Doc Rivers extends to a 59-49 lead.
Asked the official, Marv, and the feeling was he was complaining about a screen that was set by the Knicks, so much so and so vehemently that he got ejected from the game. But that's what the subject was, a screen by the Knicks on offense.
Bowie fouled. Oakley called for number 4, so Sam Bowie to the line for the first time.
Marv, Chuck Daly is such an experienced tactician and psychologist. It wouldn't surprise me if he didn't offer himself up for his players to try and get a better effort out of them on the court. The Knicks have taken over the momentum of this game. The Nets had it earlier, but Chuck might have felt this would be his best contribution to show some real emotion. Perhaps he felt his team wasn't showing enough emotion.
Charles Oakley gets a hand. He departs after collecting his 4th, replaced by Charles Smith, who played well in the first half. Nets go to pressure. And Smith's pass picked off by Bowie. Here's Petrovic. So that pressure defense rattled the Knicks.
Very impressive play by the 7-1 Sam Bowie.
Campbell setting up Smith, who is rejected and fouled. Derek Coleman called for the personal.
Very hard to succeed when you block a shot from behind. Tony Campbell penetrating, giving the ball up to Smith. Coleman from behind gets his hand on the ball, but a lot of body on Charles Smith.
So the Knicks lead by 7. You go back to that 1988 NBA draft. Charles Smith taken by Philadelphia, number 3, and then dealt to the Clippers. And there's Chris Morris, the number 4 pick. Danny Manning went first, followed by Rick Smits by Indiana.
Chris Morris joined the Nets one day before the end of training camp. He's a late signer, but he signed a 3-year contract.
Coleman, he's been off after the good start. Starks did well to save it. Smith for Campbell. Yes, and it counts. Eric Coleman called for the foul. Beautiful ball movement by the Knicks.
Very unselfish play. Started by Starks' high energy. Gives the ball up. Kept his eye on the cutting Smith. Penetrates, doesn't have the move at the end, gives it up to Campbell, who's very effective with his left hand around the hoop. And Tony Campbell finished off that play at the foul line, concluding with a 3-point play.
Knicks 64 and the Nets 53. Here's Bowie. It counts and a foul.
Charles is frustrated because he didn't make a defensive move at the end. You'll see him kind of hold his ground. However, there is contact initiated by Bowie, who's allowed to go to the basket and take his shot and live his life. There was a little contact there, and that was a foul.
Anthony Mason checking back in. So Charles Smith sits down with 4.
Or if Charles Smith performed the role that was designed for him when he put on his Knicks shirt for the first time. 10 minutes of the first half, 8 points, 5 rebounds, also a block shot. He contributed mightily to the Knicks' effort here tonight.
Halfway through the third quarter, the Knicks by 8. Starks was open.
Those are the tough shots, those short jumpers, with no backboard to look at.
Anderson stopped by Rivers. Starks on the run. Eight points for Starks, who has a way of sparking the club, as we saw Friday night in Atlanta.
Where was Derek Coleman's heart on that play? He didn't even work to challenge Starks.
Ewing with the steal. And Mason not able to hit off the feed by Rivers.
7-1 Bowie, and he tried to slam it over him.
Anderson finishing off the 3-on-1. The Knicks lead 66-58. We come up on 5 minutes to go in the third. In the first half at 1 point, the Nets led by as many as 10. They went cold in the second quarter. The Knicks with an excellent defensive effort in the second quarter. They reeled off 14 straight points. The Nets went 6 minutes 13 seconds without scoring. Here's Ewing. Call for the travel. The Nets with a backcourt of Anderson and Petrovic, Coleman, Morris, and Bowie up front. Nets with their starting lineup. Chuck Daly, chased just moments ago, ejected, hit with consecutive technical fouls. So the combination of Brendan Suhr, Paul Silas, one-time Knick assistant, running the team.
Meanwhile, 1 or 2 minutes of solid play, and the Nets are right back in this thing.
And there's a nice tip by Bowie, and Bowie has come on in this third quarter. He has 9 points in all. So the Knicks lead by 6. Starks, yes. So John Starks on a run. He now has 10. The Knicks 68, the Nets 60.
Simple play, but beautifully set up by Doc Rivers.
Anderson. Kenny Anderson with 11.
Skills of Kenny Anderson. He releases that jump shot off the ear on that play.
Campbell's three-pointer went short. Mason able to get the new 24. Rivers with the step. Doc Rivers showing acceleration.
Rivers is such a team player, and yet, Marv, he has sat out sat out 19-plus minutes last game of the latter part of the game. Tonight he sat a lot for Greg Anthony. He wants to play.
Knicks have an 8-point lead and a foul on Ewing. That is his first. Right here, let's go to Bob Page at the MSG Sports Desk.
Marv at Orlando tonight. Scott Skiles on the break. Feeds Shaquille O'Neal, who blows past ex-Knick Johnny Newman for the slam. He's got 20 points, and Shaquille doing it defensively. Look at the block on J.R. Reed. Orlando leads Charlotte second quarter.
All right, Bob. And Aaron Coleman with 18 points. 3.5 remaining in this third quarter. The Knicks by 7. Bill Robinson getting set to check back in for the Nets. Bowie stepping out to get a piece of it.
Bounce pass is the only way to avoid things like that happening, but Mason went over the top and the ball was deflected in his attempt to get it to Ewing.
Here's Morris, way off. Ewing getting the possession through the double team. Anderson putting the speed on, and he's fouled. And the Nets want the basket. They get it. It's a goaltend and the foul.
Not a smart play by, I believe that was John Starks, knocking the ball away after it had been released by Kenny Anderson.
Timeout has been called. The Knicks lead by 4.
When tonight's game ends, the play-by-play begins. Join me, Mike Francesa, for the biggest stars and the best in sports talk here on MSG Network, the best in the game.
Before selling quality was popular, before great service was expected from a dealership, Hempstead Toyota was setting the standard for sales and service in the auto dealer industry. Yes, since 1966, 3 generations at Hempstead Toyota have been saving Toyota customers thousands of dollars on their fully stocked line of new cars and trucks, or from their large selection of fully warranted, previously owned vehicles. And now's the time to get great leases and financing at Hempstead Toyota, the solution to luxury for today's economy.
You want to purchase a car, you shouldn't have to deal with obstacles. It shouldn't be a painful experience. Well, it won't be at East Hill Chevrolet Geo. At East Hill Chevrolet Geo, there's a large selection of Corvettes, Cavaliers, Blazers, and Storms at low prices that are right on goal. And now East Hills can offer you the big rebates and low financing you want. So come to East Hills Chevrolet Geo in Roslyn. It's a winning experience. East Hills, we don't want to sell you a car. We want to help you buy one.
Enter the future of home electronics by Panasonic and Techniques. From new super flat tube televisions.
It's brought to you by the team of Canon Technology and MCS Service. One is a great reason to buy the other. And several minutes ago, the Knicks had an example of great teamwork. John Starks pursuing a loose basketball, running the sideline, going to the middle to spread that defense out. Charles Smith couldn't make the shot after penetrating, but Tony Campbell finished it off and then went to the foul line and made a 3-point play out of it.
Kenny Anderson bringing the Nets within 3 on that completion of the 3-point play. Anderson has 14 points. Again, pressure by the Nets. 2.5 remaining in the third quarter. Mason. Yes. So Anthony Mason, who has sat for a long time because of the early foul trouble, getting back to the scoring column. Knicks lead 72-67.
Mason's getting in the habit of presenting that nice jump shot more often.
Bowie feeling around for Ewing, and illegal defense called for the second time against the Knicks.
Greg Anthony is questioning that, Mark, and you'll note he may be illegal right now. But Anthony went in and a whistle blew, and he was saying, hey, I was at the man. You can't hang around in the middle. I think the whistle might have come a second too late. but he might have been illegal before Anthony made that move.
So Derek Coleman to the line, shooting the technical. 2 minutes, 4 seconds remaining in this third quarter. Marv Albert, John Andres, Al Troutman, Walt Clyde Frazier from Madison Square Garden. The Knicks lead the Nets by the score of 72-68. Nets led by as many as 10 early in the game. Knicks reeled off 14 straight points in the second quarter. Morris for 3 and rebounded by Ewing. Mason played by Coleman. First of 4 regular season meetings between these two clubs. And a rivalry has reemerged between the Knicks and the Nets. Mason fouled, and Mason and Bowie having words. Ewing comes over.
Mason wisely walking away. Part of his attempt to be more mature and professional, as he's often talked in this preseason, getting shot pretty good there by Sam. And Mason doesn't accept the challenge to stand there and continue talking. You'll see what Mason did to instigate that reaction, Omar. When he got the ball, he slammed it back at Bowie at the end of that play, which is an unnecessary move and will generally trigger a response by anyone.
The foul on Bowie, his third. It's the Knicks 74 and the Nets 68. Anderson and Robinson in the backcourt. Coleman with Bowie and Morris up front for the New Jersey Nets. Ramil Robinson guarded by the rookie Hubert Davis. Here's Coleman. And the Knicks now lead 74-70. Derek Coleman has 22 to lead the Nets. Anthony.
How frustrating, Marv. In and out.
We are down to 1 minute remaining in the third. Early in this third quarter, that's an offensive foul. It's on Bowie, his fourth earlier this third quarter. Nets coach Chuck Daly was ejected, hit with consecutive technical fouls by the official Gary Benson. Brendan Sir, Paul Silas, assistant coaches running the team. Here's Ewing. Yes, Patrick Ewing has 21. The Knicks 76. And that's 70.
Nice move by Ewing. He could have gone in closer to the basket, but he did not resist that temptation. It would have interrupted his flow.
Anderson with the step. Nice move by Kenny Anderson. And with 30 seconds to go in the third, the Knicks lead is now 4. Battle between Bowie and Ewing. Campbell. Anthony for Ewing. Ewing drawing the double team. Fires a wild pass. Mason able to save it. Stopped on the reverse, but does it again.
Pass was intended for the cutting Anthony. Fortunately, Mason was there to scoop it up and finish it off.
Final seconds, third quarter. Anderson with a beautiful move off the dribble, but then had it knocked away. And that's the end of the third quarter. The Knicks hearing it from the crowd. They lead the Nets 78-72. That'll be Mike from the play-by-play club here at Madison Square Garden. Following Knicks basketball, we are on to the fourth quarter. The Knicks 78 and the Nets 72. Petrovic all over Davis, and the foul is called. Drazen Petrovic called for his third. The Knicks open up the fourth quarter with a backcourt of the rookie Hubert Davis along with Greg Anthony, Patrick Ewing, Tony Campbell, Anthony Mason up front. Ewing drawing the double team. Knicks able to swing it to Davis. Yes.
The response by Ewing made it all happen. It was quick.
The Knicks 80 and the Nets 72. Hubert Davis with his first field goal. Addison Rebound, Coleman. So Derek Coleman getting the position. He now has 24. The Knicks lead by 6. Anthony getting it back to Mason. Yes.
Make that 2 jump shots, Marv. Excuse me.
Nice release by Anthony Mason. And the Knicks now lead 82-74. And Hugh Hollins calling the foul on the Knicks. A holding foul. Charles Smith returns. Hubert Davis called for the foul. Patrick Ewing sitting down with 21. Ramil Robinson getting additional playing time tonight. Robinson with the opening because Anthony helped out. And the loose ball foul called on the Nets. Raphael Addison is called for the personal.
I think viewers of Charles Smith here in the East are seeing him play as a member of the Knicks at a much higher pitch than they expected him to play. There was a feeling that he was a cooler type guy on the court, but he has shown the Knicks a lot of emotion.
3 seconds. Violation called on Smith.
Knicks also have the luxury of rotating pretty much whoever they want into the center position because Bowie and Dudley have not been major offensive threats. Certainly Dudley never will be.
And the kick ball will give the Nets a new 24.
Take a look at a very important part of any game. In this case, it's the Midas bench breakdown. A dramatic disparity favoring the Knicks 4-1 in scoring.
Knicks have an 8-point lead. Smith switching off to Robinson is able to find Dudley. Rejected by Campbell. Addison is fouled. He was hammered. But the crowd enjoying the physical defensive play by the Knicks.
There is such a focus on defense. A seemingly easy shot for the 6'10 Dudley, but no, Tony Campbell at 6'7 sends him away. Then the Knicks converge and make it very difficult for the Nets to score. In this case, Raphael Addison drawing the foul. But there is such an emphasis on defense with the Knicks early in the season. It always will be that way with Pat Riley. And you know when the coach is happy, you're happy. So the players are trying very hard to keep Pat Riley happy, and they're showing their cohesiveness defensively tonight.
Campbell called for the foul. And the Knicks lead 82-76.
Patience by the Knicks on offense, not rushing the shot.
Smith wheeling in on Dudley and foul. Dudley picks up number 4. So the net foul rundown, 4 apiece on the 2 centers, Dudley and Bowie. Coleman has 3 for the Knicks. 4 on Oakley, 4 on Smith, 3 apiece on Mason and Rivers.
Only the 3rd game this season, but what Pat Riley is finding, when Patrick Ewing needs a rest, the offense doesn't die. In this case, Charles Smith is performing very well offensively when Ewing is sitting down. The Knicks have already done that as they did in Atlanta in the opening game. They played well with Ewing out.
There's Rick Mahorn back, played 9 minutes in his net debut in the first half. Chris Dudley, knee parting, leaves with a field goal for 2. Smith extends the Knicks lead to 84-76. Knicks able to maintain the 8-10 point cushion since taking over the game in the 2nd quarter.
Familiar high pick set by Rick Mahorn. He didn't bother Greg Anthony, however.
Not a good shot by Coleman. Forced it off a double team, but it was last touched by the Knicks.
Knicks teammates of Greg Anthony, however, better make him aware of the likelihood of Mahorn setting those high picks. The man behind the defensive man has to let people know, has to let the guy know.
And it's an offensive foul. And that came off the pick. Oh, there's the glare by Mahorn as he's called for the illegal screen.
Rick Mahorn coming in. He was moving. He wasn't set. If you're moving when that contact occurs, you, the offensive man, commit the foul.
As he said, he was looking to set that pick, and the officials are watching Rick Smith showing his range.
Oh, that is beautiful form by Charles Smith.
14 for Smith. The Knicks lead by 10. Petrovic.
That's a layup for him.
12 points for Drazen Petrovic. The Knicks 86. The Nets 78. 8:45 to go in the fourth quarter. And a holding foul charged to Addison.
No argument on that. He was all over Tony Campbell, pushing him around, trying to deny Campbell the ball.
The Knicks going with a front line of Smith, Campbell, and Mason. Ewing sitting down, getting a rest. Anthony and Davis in the backcourt.
Anthony sizing up the double post lineup there of the Knicks.
Mason. Rebounded by Addison. Here comes Robinson. Mason trying to catch him from behind. Coleman with the slam.
That was impressive. He went to the right hand as the last resort, and he was plenty high to do that.
The Knicks lead 86-80. 26 points for Derek Coleman. Smith. He was fouled. So Charles will go to the line. Now Pat Riley sending on Ewing and Rivers. Anthony and Campbell will sit down.
See, by Smith hitting that last jump shot, Anthony did a nice job, as did Tony Campbell. He made the defense very sensitive to the jump shot. So the next time he got the ball, he faked jump shot and drove by the defensive man. But when you have the option of, or the ability to hit outside shots, you can combine that very nicely with a drive to the basket.
Well, Charles Smith had hit his first 8 from the free throw line. Here's Chris Morris back for Raphael Addison. Charles Smith, over his career, has been a solid free throw shooter, 79% with the Clippers last season. Certainly a lane violation. And Smith will get an extra free throw. One of the Nets stepped in too quickly.
Knicks are enjoying the momentum of this game, and yet they're not far enough away from the Nets, who at any moment can come roaring back.
Smith will get credit, hitting 1 out of 2 from the line. The Knicks 87. The Nets 80. Petrovic. And Mason with the rebound. Ewing being played by Mahorn. Mahorn talking to him. Ewing wheeling in for the hook. Rebounded by Mahorn.
Nets played Ewing well. He was so indecisive. Finally went for the shot that was very difficult for him.
Patrick Ewing has missed the steady chatter of Rick Mahorn, who is a funny guy. Here's Robinson. Seven minutes to go, fourth quarter. Rivers on a change of direction. Nice ball movement again. But Smith could not convert. And a loose ball foul called against the Knicks. Timeout has been called.
7171. For group sales information, call 212-465-6080. And Marv will take care of all of your ticket requests personally.
Oh, yes. Just contact me at home, no problem. There's Rolando Blackman, who is sitting it out tonight because of a sprained left calf muscle called day-to-day. As you are, John. Day to day.
And yet, Marv, as we all are.
That is true. Change on that last foul call. It was not on the Knicks. Instead, Chris Morris called for the foul. That puts the Nets over the limit, and it sends Anthony Mason to the line.
Kenny Anderson checked back in. The leadership and the penetration is so different with Anderson on the court. Robinson has gotten a significant amount of time tonight, more than any of the prior games, but there is a major difference in leadership.
The Knicks 89, the Nets 80. Kenny Anderson being guarded by Doc Rivers. Coleman played by Smith. Coleman lost it. Trying to go cross court, changed his mind and held back. Rivers and Davis in the backcourt. Ewing with Mason and Smith up front. Here's Rivers, and the foul call. So Rivers to the line. The Nets are now in foul trouble. They have been over the limit, while the Knicks, with only 2 team fouls, Mahorn called for that foul, his third, and Rivers back to the line. He's 1 out of 2 from the line.
More the response of the fans is in regard to a fracas going up higher up in the garden. I can't see exactly what it is, but there are a lot of people in suits hugging each other. And
see Pat Riley checking it out.
I don't think they're happy.
No. John, will you please pay attention to the game? Knicks 91 and the Nets 80. 6:15 remaining in this fourth quarter. Chucky Brown has come on for the Nets for the first time. Brown up front with Mahorn and Coleman. Anderson and Petrovic in the backcourt. Here's Anderson. Stay right here, says Hugh Hollins. The foul called on the Knicks. It's on Smith. That is his 5th. It's a loose ball foul, so Brown will throw in from side court. Petrovic played by Davis. Anderson guarded by Rivers. Mahorn set the screen. No basket, says Hugh Hollins. And the foul call on Ewing. That is his 2nd.
Take a look now from the upper deck trading card cam of what happened. Kenny Anderson breaking down the defense.
And Coleman is pushed by Smith, so he's fouled out. Charles Smith fouling out, leaves with 15 points. And that's a major loss for the Knicks. Solid game for Charles Smith. Here's Charles Oakley checking back in. Oakley has 4 fouls.
Charles Smith very unhappy, feeling he got a bad call.
Knicks president Dave Checketts getting advice from New York Daily News columnist Mike Lupica. I believe Mike's completed 3 trades tonight.
Mike's date tonight seems to have left him, Don Imus.
One has to be up early, wearing the sunglasses also earlier to wanted to, take a little nap, getting ready for his early morning chores. Knicks lead 91-82. Five and a half remaining in the fourth quarter. Here's Davis.
Davis has hit a jump shot, but he hasn't gotten into the flow of the game tonight. There are many minutes between shot attempts, so it's difficult to shoot well under those circumstances.
Coleman off the fake, had the lane closed by Oakley. Anderson, he's been off. Davis getting to it. Fast break for the Knicks. Rivers for Oakley. Rebound Oakley, and he draws the foul. Hit by Mahorn.
Charles shot the layup instead of putting it in the basket. He didn't go up high enough to the hoop. I have a feeling, however, Marv, Charles Oakley's going to be very important in the closing minutes here. He has not really had the kind of game that Oakley usually has, where his presence is felt very much. He has not been noticed that much, and you know he feels it and wants to add something to this effort.
Well, Horn sitting down after picking up his 4th foul. Knicks lead 91-82. Oakley making his first appearances at the line. Knicks had been doing well at the free throw line in contrast to what took place Saturday night. 18 of 31 against the 76ers. Bowie with a wild shot. I would say the Nets, John, are right up there in terms of awful shot selection. When you look around the NBA, and that was certainly the case in recent years, and it still holds true under Chuck Daly. And it's a tough thing for a coach to control. It depends on the personnel, and you can only do so much.
Well, Kenny Anderson's job now is to provide leadership, and as he mentioned in an interview with Al Troutwig earlier before the game, I have 2 arms and 2 legs. I can only do so much. He wants to distribute the ball, but I think that there are too many periods of the game, just looking at the Nets tonight, where they go one-on-one so much. They live off Derek Coleman, and that takes other players out of the game. Then it becomes, well, I'll get the ball. I'm not going to get it again, so I better shoot it. And Chris Morris and Derek Coleman both play that kind of game, yet they're both so talented. So it's a blending process that this team has to go through, and they just haven't hit it yet.
Anderson. And the Nets shooting way off down the stretch. Here's Ewing. And Chucky Brown with the rebound with just under 4 minutes remaining, 4th quarter. Anderson curling in. Nice move by Kenny Anderson. He has 18 points. The Knicks lead 92-84.
How quickly he accelerates from a standing still position right by Patrick Ewing.
Here's Rivers for 3. And Oakley able to get the new 24.
Rivers calling out a play, directing the offense right now, telling people where to go.
Starks. Ewing. So the Knicks maintaining possession. Now Pat Riley wants to talk it over. Not happy with the offense the last several sequences.
Miami, where the Celtics' D. Brown is rejected by Ronnie Cycli. Right to former Celt Brian Shaw to Kevin Edwards. A fast break in the finest Boston tradition. The Celtics now trail the Heat late 4th quarter.
All right, Bob. We're down to 3:17 remaining in the 4th quarter, and the Knicks lead by 8.
Well, when the jump shots aren't working, might as well move the ball to people who can get inside, get better shots, and Kenny Anderson did that for the last basket for the Nets.
The poor Knick free throw shooting here in the 4th quarter has hurt. The Knicks have gone 5:49 without a field goal. Starks was hit, and he'll go to the line. 5 minutes and 49 seconds without a field goal for the Knicks. And they are 3 of 11 from the field in the 4th quarter. The Nets are 4 of 14 from the field. Anderson called for that foul. Both teams are over the limit.
One of the great concerns after 2 games for Chuck Daly has been the ability of his team to close the middle down and not make the layup attempts or the shots around the basket come so readily, so easily for the opponents. And tonight, once again, the Knicks have had success working the middle, but they have not had a lot of outside shooting. Much of the damage has been done around the basket by the Knicks.
John Starks on the line for the first time tonight. The Knicks 94 and the Nets 84. Knicks come in with a record of 2-0. That's a trip on Starks. Petrovic will shoot a pair. The Knicks with victories over Atlanta and Philadelphia, while the Nets with a win over the Sixers and a loss in Miami on Saturday. And then they play the home opener against the Minnesota Timberwolves Thursday night. Start of a 4-game homestand, looking to get healthy.
Well, the Nets had 30 points at the end of the first period. Now they're up to 85, and it looks like they will fall short of 100. The Knicks' first two opponents didn't hit 100, which is the first time that's happened since 1976-77 season.
The Knicks now lead 94, 86. Some pressure by the Nets. Rivers able to get it across.
Charging the clock now.
Just under 3 minutes remaining in the game. Rivers rebounded by Brown. Oakley stepping out to steal, but a whistle on the play. Pat Riley does not like the call.
Kenny Anderson tried the crossover dribble, and it seems in so doing he lost control of the ball, but the official from behind sees a foul.
And it's called right there on Oakley, a reach-in foul. That's 5 on Charles. So Anderson to the free throw line. He's 4 out of 5 from the line.
It was a year ago, Marv. Gosh, I can't believe it. Seeing Kenny in this position when he made his debut here at Madison Square Garden. He's one of his first Nets appearances that he scored 8 of the team's final 16 points. Almost won the game single-handedly for the Nets. A very impressive debut.
Nets won the last 2 against the Knicks last season. Knicks won the first 3. Starks whipping it cross court, and Ewing decides to start it all over again. 2.5 remaining in this fourth quarter, down to 7 on the shot clock. Rivers. And Hugh Holland's calling it against the Knicks.
Is that a kicking foul called on Doc Rivers?
Rivers had fallen down on the fadeaway and then was called for extending the leg.
Doc with the room. Boy, that is a sensitive call. That certainly did look intentional, and look who came out damaged. Doc Rivers bleeding from above the left eye.
Greg Anthony will come on, replacing Doc Rivers.
Mike Saunders going to the rubber gloves.
So the Nets take over. They're down by 6. With 2 minutes and 20 seconds remaining in the fourth quarter. Petrovic with a pretty move. He's cut it to a 4-point lead. Here's Starks going right at Brown. So John Starks extends to a 6-point Knick lead with 2 minutes remaining fourth quarter.
Boy, that's how you become a go-to guy, John Starks.
Coleman. Derek Coleman with 30 points. He's the high man. The Knicks 96. The Nets 92. And we're down to a minute and 45 left in the game.
Nets certainly have their go-to guy in Derek Coleman.
Starks. Not necessarily a shot that the coaching staff would appreciate as he was releasing. The Knicks now lead by 6. And the Nets call for time. Minute 33 left in the fourth.
Up in dramatic moments. John Starks has done it for the Knicks in the last minute of play as the Nets have made things close. Starks in a breakaway situation. One-on-one takes on Chucky Brown. Right down the middle, right to the basket. No backboard on that play. Starks again moving that basketball. A moment later takes the long jump shot and hits it. The Knicks enjoy a 6-point lead.
Starks 6 of 8 from the field in the second half. Here's Anderson with a strong move. What penetration by Kenny Anderson. The Knicks 98, Nets 94, 120 remaining in the fourth quarter.
Ewing reluctant to challenge Anderson and draw the foul.
Starks with the step. And that will be a double dribble. Traveling violation. Starks upset. Starks claiming off the screen. He handed the ball off and then received it back.
Yes, to Charles Oakley. The official was right there.
Could be a critical turnover. Nets with the ball down by 4. 1 minute remaining in the game. Anderson. Rebound Oakley.
What I wonder is if Doc Rivers didn't get that eye injury, if he wouldn't be on the floor right now for his veteran leadership. He's at the end of the bench.
Knicks looking to nurse the clock. 10 on the 24. 40 seconds remaining in the game. Bad play by Starks. Anderson on the steal. Anderson able to hit. Knicks wanted a charge. It's down to a 2-point lead with a half minute remaining. Starks played by Petrovic. 10 on the 24. Ewing drawing a double team. Shot clock to 5. Starks. Rebound Coleman. Anthony broke it up.
I'll tell you, Marv, I really feel Rivers should be on the court.
And with 7 and 5/10 seconds remaining in the fourth quarter, a timeout is taken by the Nets. Knicks lead by 2. To this 2-point lead for the Knicks. 7 and 5/10 seconds remaining. That's the timeout situation.
Should the Nets rather think about long-distance shooting? They have not been doing that well from 3-point range this year. 3 out of 11.
Chucky Brown will inbound. Coleman down to 5 seconds. Coleman for a 3, going for the game winner. Rebounded by Ewing. And that will do it. I don't understand that shot.
That kind of typifies how the Nets play and how Coleman plays.
I mean, to take a fling. Apparently a foul was called. 2/10 of a second remaining. Chucky Brown was called for the foul, and Patrick Ewing, who is 6 of 8 from the line, will shoot 2. Now, there was still time. Certainly it can be a panic situation, but you're trying to be a hero when you take a shot like that, looking for the game winner, and it wasn't a good look by Derek Coleman.
Fortunately, there was pressure put on him, but no foul.
It is only a 2-point lead. 2/10 of a second remaining. Ewing extends to a 99-96 Knick lead, and now the Nets take a timeout. We'll take a break. Back in a moment. Firing for the hoop. And there is the tip attempt by Bowie, and that will do it. So this first regular season meeting between the Knicks and the Nets, won by the Knicks, who go to 3-0. They defeat the Nets by the score of 99-96. The Knicks 3-0 for the season. The Nets are now 1 up and 2 down. The high point man of the game, Derek Coleman, with 30 points. Patrick Ewing with 23. We'll be back with our Knick postgame in just a moment.
It was Derek Coleman, and it was Kenny Anderson making this game interesting. A 2-point game with 30 seconds left. The Nets with a chance, and then Derek Coleman's wild shot with the seconds counting down. For the Knicks, they again got some great performances off the bench, and we'll be talking about that in all our postgame coverage. But right now, one of the shots to focus on is the AT&T long-distance shooting. 7.5 seconds to go. The Knick lead is 2. And what evolved was this. Some difficulty on the inbound. Coleman gets it outside the 3, and then, almost mystifyingly, with 5 seconds to go, heaves it up with a bad off-balance shot. You know, I had an opportunity to watch the second half of this game with Chuck Daly, who watched the game in our MSG studios, and he said that Derek Coleman right now is dealing with the difficult tug-of-war in a superstar's mind. When the game is on the line, when a shot needs to be made, he feels he's the one that's got to take it no matter what the cost of the team. So the maturity of Derek Coleman is only one of the factors that this New Jersey Nets team could use, but on that particular play, they could have used a little bit more. So the Knicks go 3-0 on this season tonight in front of a star-studded crowd at Madison Square Garden. Right now, the leading scorers summary, and that's brought to you by your Tri-State Jeep and Eagle dealers. There's only one Jeep, and it's only at your Tri-State Jeep and Eagle dealers. Patrick Ewing with 22 points, tying what he did on the first night of the season. John Starks with some important hoops in the fourth quarter to fend off the Nets with 16. Charles Smith with 15, a good performance for him. He rose to the occasion tonight in a very rough physical game. Tony Campbell, Anthony Mason, Doc Rivers each with 11. Here's the net story now. Derek Coleman leading the way with 30. Then Kenny Anderson with some important drives in the closing minutes with 24. Drazen Petrovic with 16. After that, Sam Bowie and Chris Morris with quiet 9-point performances tonight. We'll have much more to come from the Garden, where the Knicks prevail over the Nets.
In short, gentlemen, our capitalization plan has paid handsome dividends. Johnson here will fill you in on the details.
Thank you, J.P. Let me begin by saying...
We've been acquired! By whom? The Omega Corporation? No. Chuck, from the mail room.
Howdy, boys. Ms. Whitaker.
New York Lotto. Hey, you never know.
Coffee, Johnson.
An independent real-world study. The Oldsmobile Achieva against the Honda Accord and Toyota Camry for 100,000 real-world miles. Real-world roads, real-world driving conditions, each car driven by real, everyday people. After 100,000 miles in a comparison of total operating, repair, and maintenance cost, the winner in the real world is... Now you can smart lease the 93 Oldsmobile Achieva for just $199 a month. Where? At your good old skies.
If it's out there, it's in here. The 9X Yellow Pages. Need another?
Remember, PDK in, crystal clear audio out. PDK tape that nobody beats the whiz. The tape that music sticks to better.
Welcome back to Madison Square Garden, where the Knicks take control of this basketball game in the second quarter, then have to hold on in the closing seconds. Right now, the Coca-Cola Classic player of the game, John Starks, 16 points on 7 of 14 shooting. And again, as he has exhibited so many times in the past at Madison Square Garden, game on the line, big shot needed. John Starks wants the ball. Finger roll there, and that at a very crucial time. Then it was 98-92, and John Starks with 1:33 to go, hit from the perimeter. Nets were really charging at that particular point, and John Starks was able to pull it in. As you look down the rest of some of these numbers, Patrick Ewing with 23 points tonight, and coming out onto the floor now is John Starks making his way across. And John, thanks for coming out once again. As I just finished saying before you got here, game on the line, big shot. You want the basketball.
That's true. Like I said, everybody knows where the ball's going to go to, and that's into Patrick's hand. As a player, we all have to step up and help Patrick out, because the majority of the time, once he gets the ball, everybody's going to collapse on him, and he's going to kick it back out to you, and you have to be able to step up and knock down the shot.
Now, John, the Knicks had leads many times of 11 points, and in that fourth quarter, it looked as though the game was going to be controlled, yet it seemed at some point that something happened that got the team out of the flow of their offense. Do you agree with that, and if so, how did that happen?
I think it was made by me personally with a stupid foul right here at half court on Petrovic. We went up by 10, and I came up and tried to steal the ball, and I fouled him. He went to the line, and that kind of like a domino effect, and they started to build off of that, started to get a little bit of momentum, and build off of that, and all of a sudden it just got out of hand.
John, frustration with the officiating got Chuck Daly ejected from this game. There were a lot of confrontations between players and officials tonight, to the point where it can almost distract you from the game itself. Did that happen?
I don't think so. That's part of the game. I think Chuck got himself thrown out the game to get his team involved, get his team more involved into the game. Because I felt that they was kind of relaxing a little bit, and we were starting to pull away from him. As a coaching move, he did what he had to do in order to get his team fired up, and it worked.
John, thanks for coming out of the locker room.
All right, thank you.
All right, that's John Starks. We'll hear from Pat Riley now.
I didn't, you know, I caught a glimpse of it a couple times, but, you know, it's pretty ugly.
At the last couple of minutes, Starks seemed to really want the ball to take the game over.
We went to sleep. You know, we had the 10-point lead, and then we committed, you know, two defensive mistakes. You know, one was a perimeter foul to put, you know, Petrovic on the line. Another one wasn't stepping up and taking the charge on, you know, on Kenny Anderson. And they just got him back to 6, and they got to 4, and then a call on Doc, and the whole thing was about ready to go haywire. So at that particular time, John just lowered his head a couple of times and took the ball to the basket. We needed it because we were holding on instead of finishing, and that's a common disease in this league, and even with us. So, you know, we'll watch it and talk about it, but I thought for the most part from the middle of the second period, or the second period on, we just played extremely well from a defensive standpoint.
Did Doc get hurt on this play?
He cut his eye. Yeah, something happened. He got cut, you know, so I don't know the extent of it.
Pat Bragg's second quarter defense.
Well, that team, you know, we go with 2 or 3 guys off the bench, and it seems as though we're finding some runs for 7 or 8 minutes defensively that's really, you know, giving us a nice lift. You know, we know what his strengths are. Everybody knows what Greg's strengths are, and he does a good job of pressuring the ball, and he's playing very well for us right now.
Well, what was your defensive style like the last possession, and were you surprised to see?
With .02 seconds?
Well,
Well, you know, at that particular time, the only thing I talked to the guys about was just, you know, staying together, because, you know, I mean, they began to sort of fracture and fragment at the end, and, you know, after, you know, it got cut to 2, and, you know, we had to make one stop. We just didn't want to give up any 3-point plays, you know. I mean, even if they hit 2, then we're in overtime. But I thought we did a good job of taking Petrovic out of it. They wanted to get him to the high post, and John denied him the ball and had to go to Derek. And then, just contain him, you know, so it's the defensive play.
When you say staying together, what do you mean?
What's that?
When you say staying together.
That's Pat Riley's post-game media conference. Meanwhile, Chuck Daly never finished this one. Watching most of the second half on television, he was ejected for some calls that he thought should have been made.
Rangers remain at the Garden to take on the Washington Capitals after Sports Desk and Game Night Wednesday at 7 here on MSG Network.
A noble warrior advised, the art of protection springs from within. One must stay vigilant against one's unfragrant perspiration, lest one provoke a hostile response. Thus, a Norse ritual is right guard sports stick. An aromatic array of the freshest scents and maximum protection against disarming wetness. Confirming the wisdom, the best defense is not to offend. Right guard sports stick. Anything less will be uncivilized.
Next time you're dining out, ponder this. The Discover card pays you a cashback bonus on every meal you charge, which means you shall soon acquire a small fortune. It pays to Discover. Our annual credit card fees sending you through the roof? carry the card that charges no annual fee and stay on firm financial ground. It pays to Discover.
The Dunk of the Game is brought to you by Budweiser, the king of beers. The only beer with the taste as genuine as the people who drink it. Nothing beats a Bud.
And for the Bud Dunk of the game, we've got to go back to videotape recorded in the first quarter. Derek Coleman with a good look and Chris Morris with a big flourish and a finish. But when this game was over, Chris Morris would not have had much of an effect. It was the Knicks over the Nets tonight, 99-96, a thrilling finish at the Garden. After visiting Landover Friday night, when the Knicks will take on the new-look Washington Bullets with our coverage beginning at 7:30. We'll see you again on Saturday for the Boston Celtics. Coming up next, live from the play-by-play.
Happy with the officiating, and he gets two and gets run, and Chuck has an early shower, gets his time, he can collect his thoughts and get ready for an appearance right here live from the play-by-play, and that's coming up in just a couple of minutes. Now, tonight I felt it was a big event atmosphere here at the Garden. A lot of excitement, and I think for two reasons. Number one, this burgeoning Knick-Net rivalry. The Nets are getting better, and there are great expectations for the Knicks this year, and I think that's reason number one. Number two, I think this city, without any question, is starved for some sports excitement. It's been a bad baseball season. It's not a good football season, and I think the feeling is that the Knicks and Pat Riley can provide that this year. Now, coming up, a big show, as I told you, as Amy just told you. And when we return, we'll be joined by Dave Winfield, the new Mr. October, live from the play-by-play.
He does this, and still, it goes back to that competitiveness. I'm going to get it done. And somewhere, we've got to balance all of this out.
You know, when you look at it, and we talk about the Nets and Kenny Anderson, and we talk about, hey, talent, undisciplined, how long will it take you, do you feel, all-star break, 40 games, to get a good feel for what you have here?
Well, I think it's going to be an ongoing situation.
All season?
All season. You know, I'll be very honest with you. I was 9 years. Maybe I'm not very bright, but I was 9 years with Detroit. And I kept learning about those people, even in the
They grew up with you, too.
Yeah, but this guy could do this. And then I find out at the 8th year, gee, we should use this guy more in the pick and roll. And so you keep learning about your players, what they can do offensively. And then the defensive part is a total sell job. And until they really buy into it, you're not going to be a good defensive team. And that's the area where we need to really shore up. And I don't know when, where, or how that'll happen. First of all, you got to get a guy or two that can stop somebody for 2 or 3 dribbles. And then you got to get all the other things. But all you can do is take a club and start working with it and go from there.
You made the trade. Mookie, unhappy with his contract, probably unhappy with his status on the club. To get Ramil, how do you see Ramil fitting in now that Kenny is your point and Ramil's going to be really your third guard in that rotation?
I knew we were going to struggle out of this situation. When you add a Mahorn, who knows a little bit more about what we're doing,
right.
But when you add Ramil, you're going to struggle, you know, because he doesn't know what you're trying to do, and he's somewhat of a 1, somewhat of a 2, and we're just going to have to find our way with it and see where we go with it. But, you know, Mookie was a very good player, very good defensive player, did a lot of interesting things, but, you know, he was at the point. He just wouldn't react to anything that we wanted to do. Right. And, you know, I don't know where you go with a guy. At some point, you got to get rid of him. Your cut bait.
Hey, you get rid of him. It's addition by subtraction.
We're going to go, and we're going to keep looking. I think what you have to do with a club like ours, and we always did this in Detroit, Jack, I think Willis has to do it. Right. You keep looking at that roster. You keep seeing who's available. You keep trying to build that roster. Get a better player at every spot anytime you can, and your club will improve.
It's been a busy year, as everybody knows, going back to over the summer and the Dream Team. And Chuck has a new book, as a matter of fact, America's Dream Team. You can hold it up there, Chuck. They see it on the monitor right now. The quest for the Olympic gold. You didn't have to call a timeout. You basically didn't have to get off the bench. You just had to make sure you can get Barkley out of the pool in Monte Carlo, as a matter of fact. Yeah. But talk a little bit about what had to be just, at times, I'm sure, an overwhelming experience.
Yeah, it wasn't quite as easy as it looked. You find out a lot about players. I found out how great Jordan was. I mean, here's a guy that, you know, could play 36 on the goal, 95, he can go out and press the point guard. He was able to raise his level among this group. There's always one guy that could take you up, and we needed that a lot of nights. But there was a lot of things that went on. This was a diary I did of all the stops, along with the photography, and it's absolutely sensational by our guys that did all of that. And so I think it's going to be an interesting book, kind of a keeper.
America's Dream Team by The Quest for the Gold by Chuck. And one thing I thought about, Chuck, watching the games, as everybody in America did over the summer, the idea of having that kind of talent and that kind of publicity, and you don't like to think about things like terrorism and stuff like that over there, but I mean, if there was a spot, you had the guys that they were going to be looking to get at. Was that a big, was that something you thought about daily, as a matter of fact?
Yeah, major concern at all times. You know, we were a Clancy novel waiting to happen.
No question.
Question about it.
No question.
And when we landed, we didn't land in Barcelona. We decided to go an hour away. And the first time we got on the bus in Spain, when I saw 5 police cars, a helicopter overhead, and start going under and seeing on our hotel people with Uzis and that sort of thing, and 2 undercover policemen on motorcycles, I knew that there was some sensitivity. I later found out that there was a lot more sensitivity than people were really aware of, and I was always kind of wary of what was going on and what was happening, because I knew, and we, in our initial meeting, really hit on it. A lot of people don't understand that there were 8 people, I think, killed in Barcelona, including the police chief when he left town by the group over there, the Basque, I guess it is, separatists, and so there was some concern, and this, along with all of the things, the management of all of the things went on, there was a lot to it, but the players were great, and they really decided to lay all the statistics aside, not worry about it. I was able, one of the decisions we made as a staff, and I had a great staff, and PJ, Mike, and Lenny, one of the things we decided, we'll start different guys every night, we'll start different guys to half. I did it even to Jordan, and I also held Larry Bird scoreless this last game.
Couple of quickies, Chuck. Number one, Bird's last game, I've talked to him about this. He said he doesn't care that he didn't play that first day, but you didn't realize at the time that this was going to be his last game, did you?
No, not really, although I suspected it probably could happen, because I just didn't see him going on with the problems he had. First of all, in La Jolla and Portland, didn't play at all. But I think he got it up. He went up and worked with this guy, his back doctor, the whole time we had off the 2 weeks to get ready for the Olympics. And he definitely wanted to play in those. I think he wanted that to be his crowning achievement.
And how about having Magic there?
Magic was sensational as a leader. I mean, no one will ever understand how good a leader he is. In fact, I made he and Bird co-captains. I asked Jordan if he wanted to be in the triumvirate. He said, nah, that's not necessary, but he did lead by example. But Magic is one of those incredible leaders, and it's unfortunate he's not playing.
Well, this whole thing with the HIV, was it a concern with the players then? And now Carl comes out and says something. Were you surprised by that?
Yeah, nothing ever happened. In fact, when we went to
Barkley said they were knocking everybody around.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you should have seen the practices. I have the tapes. They're beyond belief what went on. But the first day we went in the locker room, they had an HIV poster up there. Right. And I looked at it, and I happened to go somewhere else. I came back, it was torn down, and Magic didn't tear it down. I don't know if somebody put it up there for a reason, but I don't know if someone took it down. But there was never one concern about it the whole time. And we were together for 5 weeks every day, and we practiced very hard in La Jolla, practiced very hard in Barcelona.
Now, you stay with us for a couple minutes more. I know you're pressed for time. We got a guy who wants to come out and say hello, a guy that you might not expect to see in this role in this movie, so you watch.
Hold it right there. Breathe, Wakey. Get your hands up. Turn your face to the wall. All right, Angel, you can get up now. Turn around, geez. Your concrete Christmas present arrived about 2 seconds early. No thanks to you.
And ladies and gentlemen, Peter Falk joins us now. Well, Chuck, we found the #1 basketball detective we could find anywhere. You know, he wanted to find out exactly what happened with you tonight.
Yeah, I got upset about Ewing moving on those screens. I kept repeating it. But I was just talking to Peter backstage. I guess it's your green room about his golf game, and he's a degenerate golfer, plays at Riviera, pretty good handicap, probably a little bit of a sandbagger.
He's got me marked. He tells me he's in 11.
Yeah, watch those guys and tell you they're in 11, Peter,
right.
As a matter of fact. You know, we were talking about the Dream Team, and Chuck's got his book here, which I want to give another pop right here, as a matter of fact. America's Dream Team. I helped Chuck out a little bit with this, and it'd be a nice one. This is my copy, as a matter of fact. As a basketball fan, I know you're a huge one. What was your thoughts watching the Olympic team this summer?
The Olympic team? I tell you, I didn't watch that much of it. I mean, you know who was going to win, you know? So,
we did know that, Chuck, didn't we?
You had a pretty good idea.
You know who was going to win, you know?
Why do you think I took the job? Everybody was worried about, they said, oh, the expectation, this guy, you got to be crazy. I said, this team can't lose. There's no way it can lose.
They tell me that they were meeting some team, I don't know what it was, Croatia, some tough team. They were up by 40 at the quarter, so I mean, it was nothing to watch. No reflection, Chuck.
You're right in a way in terms of winning or losing, but to watch these guys play together and some of the things they're able to do. It's a little bit like a talent like yourself, you know, an actor, and you know, your abilities, the same kind of thing. You have those abilities. Everybody takes for granted what a guy like Peter does. And they say, well, I can do that, except if you had to do it, it's not so easy, right?
Yeah, well, it was great watching them, watching all those guys on the same outfit together. That's true.
You know, Peter, we sit there as media guys along press row there, and we sitting with Coach Chuck's team, we coach Pat's team. You sit there right there in the front couple rows. You coaching the teams too as we go along?
What, you mean here at the Garden?
Yeah.
I don't know anything about that. Hey, everybody's an expert today. I don't care who you talk to.
Particularly in New York, I listen to fans. I wanted to read all these calls. I said, boy, are these guys experts?
There's nobody that doesn't know who to put in.
Any advice for the coach?
For this guy?
Yeah.
I would say that he ought to stay on the side.
Try and finish
He ought to watch the line.
It's expensive, Peter. $250 I can't afford. I'd like to get a loan from you. I know if you live in Beverly Hills, you got to have the cash, right?
I remember one time I never met Maurice. What was that big power forward from Portland?
Maurice Lucas.
Maurice Lucas. I never met him. I'm walking across the court, and he looks at me, and he never met me. He says to me, don't you owe me money?
We can always ask, right? I do that a lot.
He was big enough, you probably said yes, huh?
Yeah, I said, yeah.
Well, Chuck, I know you have to go. I just wanted Peter to come out. He wanted to come out and say hello to you.
Thank you.
I appreciate you stopping by, and especially after that early exit.
I understand. Well, you know, didn't work for my money tonight. Got to give some back.
That's it. Chuck Daly. We'll be back with Peter Falk right after this, live from the play-by-play, so stay with us.
The Broncos. It'll be their first effort without the ultimate safety net, Lawrence Taylor. Now, there was a lot of talk around Giants camp this week about adjustments made on field without LT. Well, tonight, Lawrence Taylor tells MSG about his adjustments.
My main goal right now is try to get better. Is try to get my leg to a point where I can be competitive. Maybe not competitive in football, but competitive, you know, and that's my main thing right now. And I think through all the support I've gotten through the fans and different people all over, it helps me mentally.
We'll have much more from Lawrence Taylor and Harry Carson coming up at 11 on the full half-hour edition of MSG Sports Desk. The Knicks are in Landover tonight looking to keep their record unblemished. They face a Bullets team that is still winless after 4 tries, and MSG Sports Desk has learned that the Knicks are about to sign veteran backup center Herb Williams to a 1-year contract. Williams is in his 12th season. He spent the last 3 years in Dallas, and we'll have more. Hi, everyone, and welcome to Knicks Game Night. I'm Mike Crispino. This is a regular feature before every Knicks game this season, home and away, and we welcome you to the show tonight. The Knicks are in Landover against a Bullets team that is winless so far this season. The Knicks are one of 3 unbeaten teams in the league so far after 3 games, 3 wins that came ugly. They sputtered on offense, but on defense they were very stingy, and that allowed them to win all 3 games. The Bullets, meanwhile, along with the Sixers and the Mavericks, 3 of the only winless teams in the NBA. Now, MSG has learned tonight the Knicks are on the verge of signing a backup center for Patrick Ewing. Herb Williams, a 12-year veteran who last played with Dallas, is set to sign a 1-year contract with the Knicks worth $430,000. They cleared the money by deferring some of the monies in Bo Kimball's contract. The Knicks won the Williams sweepstakes from the Celtics and the Blazers. Both teams were after Williams, and Rolando Blackman, his former Dallas teammate, had something to do with getting Williams here. He endorsed the move. He's a 12-year veteran, as I mentioned, used to be a point producer, now should be a suitable caddy for Patrick Ewing. The career average 13.5 points, 7 rebounds a game. Last year down to 11.5 points and 6 rebounds a game. Now standing by in Landover, Marv Albert and John Andres with a preview of tonight's game and, of course, a look at a report that we just got about Herb Williams. And if it's true, Marv and John, what do you think will happen with him?
All right, thank you, Mike. And if the Herb Williams report is accurate, and John, we would never doubt the word of Peter Vesey, but if it is, in fact, confirmed, what is your reaction to such a move?
Well, Mark, first of all, we have to point out that as of a half hour ago when Dave Checketts was consulted, this was not an official deal yet, although it certainly has the look to it with the restructuring of Kimball's contract. If it were to happen, though, Marv, I think it would be a great move for the Knicks. He's the most attractive big man out there who could fill that role behind Patrick Ewing. And particularly at this stage in his career, he wouldn't be counted on to play 30 minutes a night as he had for most of his career till right now. So I think it'll be a great move. He's a quality player.
Meanwhile, the Washington Bullets off to a 0-4 start. They have been struggling. They have allowed 121 points per game. That is the worst defensive record in the NBA. They're looking at it as a rebuilding season. A host of new faces on this squad.
Yes, Wes Unseld, of course, great competitor that he isn't happy, but he has an excuse because he's got such a young team. In fact, they have 5 new faces on the roster, 4 of them being rookies. And obviously, it is a very young team, averaging only 25 years of age. Early in the season, right up till now, they're getting killed every game, it seems, by 20 points a game, which is going to make Pat Riley very nervous tonight, I would think, because if the Knicks would be ready for a letdown, tonight would be that kind of game.
All right, on the subject of the Bullets' problems, earlier I know you had a chance to chat with head coach Wes Unseld.
Wes, your team has had a very slow start. How would you describe the progress of the team thus far?
Well, I indeed think that is the correct word, a slow start. We are, not the best team, trying to get used to a lot of new individuals. And right now, we're so young and inexperienced that everything seems to be in awe for these guys. And they're learning. They're going to get better, and we're going to get better because of them. But right now, we're going to suffer through